You are now tuned into Daily Discussions with Dena. Join in the discussion right here, Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m.
Welcome to your daily discussions with Dina. Just a reminder, this is a grown folk conversation and it requires a level of maturity and the ability to comprehend, process, and express your response civilly. Okay, let's get into it. Jada. Is Jada sharing a bit too much about her personal life? And question for me is, why is she sharing it? Is there something that she wants to get out of it? I don't know, but Jada Pinkett-Smith has written a new book, and it is called Worthy. It is expected to be released on October 17th. And what she has shared with Hold a Copy of NBC, Hold a Copy of NBC, and what she has shared with People magazine has social media all abuzz. This is some interesting stuff, and I have heard everybody, or mostly everybody, speaking on some of the things that she has revealed. Some things are quite eye opening, to be honest, and really explains much of what she has been dealing with in her life privately. I don't understand that some people look at Jada as the bad guy in this situation. They even consider her or put her on a level of just being an evil person. But I don't. I see her differently, I guess. It's just someone living her life. And whatever circumstances she finds herself in her life, that's what she's dealing with. I guess it's how she know how to deal with it best. And others may not completely understand or agree with how she handles things. And some stuff I question myself, but I don't know all the ins, and I can't pretend to know I know all the ins and outs of her relationship or her life. So many like to brand her with um, some negative declarations, and people are entitled to their own opinion, but it seems sometimes she is demonized by most people. But what I find odd is that often Will is uplifted. He's almost pitied in a sense, and I don't get it. But I can understand a certain aspect of it, but the demonization of her is something that's it's out there, it's wild, and it's something I'm trying to better understand. Now, in the interview, Jada really expresses herself. She talks about so many different issues, including the way that she was brought up. She shared the fact that she was raised between two different households and two different homes, one being with her maternal grandmother, and who was a guiding force in her life, and the other with her mother, Adrienne Banfield Norris, I think that's her name, but she was a heroin addict. Of course, I think she's clean. She cleaned herself up and got sober, and she actually joined Jada on the set of her show Red Table Talk. Her father was said to be very violent. At times, he had his moment. Robsel Pinkett Jr. is his name, and he actually transitioned in 2010, I am told. But in this interview with People magazine and Hold a Copy, Jada actually admits that she didn't have a healthy foundation, and she said that as she came into understanding this into her adulthood. And she says it had some really strong effects in regard to how she saw herself. Now, even though she says she's able to see her childhood clearly today, she does admit that parents are not responsible. She says that our parents are not responsible for our wholeness, and that she didn't know how to create healthy boundaries within her life in order to create healthy relationships. Now, her grandmother she said, felt that it was very important that she was able to relate to everyone. And she also needed Jada to be well rounded. In order to do that, she wanted her to always have an entry point to be able to have a common ground with other people or another person. She taught her to keep house, and she said she also taught her never to depend on a man for pleasure or for money. Very interesting. She said she told her, your pleasure belongs to you and do not depend on a man for finances. She said she knew that anything that she needed, she had to provide it for herself. So she decided to sell drugs. And in this interview, she further revealed that growing up, the drug dealers were the ones that had affluence, that and were seen as successful, and that's common today. And considering her circumstances at that time, she says her mother was not doing well and that she was merely just a high functioning heroin addict. And because of that, they didn't have a lot of the things that they should have had in their home, and that their house was not taken care of. This has obviously had some kind of effect on Jada, and I think she's dealing with it. Coming up, she admits that she worked several legitimate jobs from the age of 12, and having money in her pocket was a must. She was a telemarketer at one time. She admits to working at the Gap. Said she just wanted financial freedom, and I think everyone can understand that. Now she's 52, and she's opening up about her and Will Smith's personal struggles, along with her mental health struggles and having um, suicidal thoughts. She even spoke in the interview about the infamous 2022 Oscars, and she revealed some interesting information. Um, the details about her childhood and what lessons were learned from it really, it seems like it's it's caused her to evolve. And she admits that she felt like she was living a double life when she was going to performing arts school, but she was also selling drugs. So she was considered herself a rising drug dealer on the street. This, I think this stuff has a way of coming back and later on in life. And when you sit down and think about it, you see how it may have impacted your life. And I think all of us have had a moment where we've reflected. If you haven't, you will. But she said you don't know how to be a priority to yourself when you aren't the priority of your parents. Because she had parents who were addicted to drugs, this has affected her. And obviously, I guess she's dealing with it. And she said she didn't want to be a drug dealer's girlfriend. She wanted money, so not just money, but she wanted that independence. She wanted to take care of herself coming up. And she even felt at some point that she may have become a queen pin. Imagine Jada. But she even admitted that you can get caught up in the scenery when you're in that lifestyle. It's it's a different Jada, she's saying, from that world that she was in then compared to now, and even talked about chasing somebody down the alley with a switchblade because they stole $700 from her. Now, Jada said that she sold crack cocaine, and she actually got set up by two dudes, and these dudes had 9 millimeters to her head. Wow, Jada. Jada was living that thug life. But once she got serious in the interview, um, she admitted that it was her solution at a particular point in her life to decide to survive. And she understands that selling drugs was painful and it hurt a lot of people, and it exposed her to a lot of danger. She admits that, and I'm glad that she realized, because sometimes when you're in that lifestyle, you can convince yourself that you're doing, even though you know you're doing something to make money that's not good, you can convince yourself because you help people with that money that you are actually helping the community or yourself. So Jada says at the time she thought she was doing good, remembering times where they were being charitable, seeing single mothers and elderly women in the market and actually paying for their goods, or being in a restaurant and paying for somebody's meal, whatever it was. She said it really have you thinking that you're helping without recognizing that you are also a part of the problem as well. And I felt that was a very adult understanding, because it causes us, when you're in that lifestyle, to rationalize, to it's a way of dealing with it, or cause and effect, so it makes you feel better about yourself. But she understands that the number one thing that she said Baltimore streets taught her was to be fearless, and how to deal with and be able to detect danger. It was the instinct that she said that she brought with her when she came to Hollywood in 1990. But finally, Jada admitted that her and her husband, Will, have actually lived apart, completely separate lives since 2016. They married in 1997, though she admits it's not a legal divorce. This had social media all abuzz. But when she admitted this to Hoda, she wanted her to understand that it wasn't essentially a divorce on paper. It was a divorce without papers. Now, we know that in the past, the couple faced public rumors and scandals of all types, especially the infamous entanglement with August Alsina in 2020, and Will Smith slapping the melanin off of Chris Rock's cheek at the award show for joking about Jada's alopecia. Jada shared some details about this too. She said that the debacle between Chris and Will, she felt that it might have been something from the past that had built up. Cody, Hoda wanted to know about details about her and Will's relationship. How did it get fractured? And she revealed to her that by the time they got to 2016, they were exhausted with trying to make their relationship work. And she felt that they both kind of just stuck in their fantasy. They were stuck in their fantasy of what they thought the other person should be. So on the 2018 episode of Red Table Talk, which was called Life After Divorce, Jada said something about not being mature enough to have a divorce. And she said, I'm just not. And she said she don't think she would ever be mature enough. And I was thinking that it was conveniently revealed all of this information. Perhaps she's gotten to that point, I don't know. But I do know that Will Smith had been previously married, and he divorced, I think her name is Cherie, and they share a son, Trey. He's about 31 today, with his former wife. And Will just didn't believe in divorce. Will admitted that he struggled with his divorce and said, I was like, ouch, ouch. And that he still told her, no, you can't have a divorce. And she hit him with so you're going to make somebody stay with you who doesn't love you? And he said that he responded, I am actually not. Nope, I'm not. And that was the one, he says, that got me. So in 2011, when he and Jada sat down to speak on the August, the entanglement on Red Table Talk, he said again that he really wanted to avoid divorce. Divorce wasn't an option, he said at that time, even though he admitted at that time that they were not together. And people seem to conveniently forget that he said this. He said, I remember him saying that I was thinking I'm done with Jada. and couples have issues. But Jada also mentioned that after her 40th birthday party, she had a different approach to their marriage and declared that the next 40 years, she said, I got to do it my way. The next half has to be directed by my picture for myself, is what she said, admitting that their marriage wasn't working and that they could no longer pretend that it was. She said they were both miserable and clearly something had to change. Now, Will Smith also had a memoir, I think it was called Will, and he admitted in there that their relationship at some point had become non-monogamous, and admitting that for a large part of their relationship, monogamy was what they chose, not thinking of monogamy as the only relational perfection. These are his words. And he said, we have given each other trust and freedom with the belief that everybody has to find their own way. And marriage for us can't be a prison. I don't suggest our road for anybody. I don't suggest this road for anybody. But the experiences, that the freedoms that we've given one another and the unconditional support, to me, is the highest definition of love. This is what Smith wrote. So that was in his memoir. He also wrote that they had a traditional wedding and Jada never wanted that. So he admitted that she sacrificed. It was a sacrifice. She was crying on that day because she didn't want a traditional wedding. And he said this would be the first of many compromises Jada would make over the years that painfully negated her own values. Jada is expected to share so many more revelations about her life and Will's and her's marriage and her family life. It's going to be shared on NBC with Hold a Copy. It's set to air actually today, October 13th at 8 p.m. But she is declaring so much and exposing so much, and I am just wondering, what is she expecting, like most people, to get from this? She did say that her and Will were still trying to figure it out. They're figuring it out, and that was after she revealed that they had been long separated. Even at the 2022 Oscars, they were separated at that time. And she said they've been doing some really heavy duty working together. We just got deep love for each other, and we're going to figure out what that looks like for us. So they're talking about what fits for them, not what we can understand or relate to, but whatever it is that works for them. Having said that, she clarified that they are there for one another as much as they can be. And she went on about the ramifications of the slap that Will gave Chris. But this book is clearly going to make a lot of moolah. It was quite, what she has revealed is very interesting, especially the part when she said that after Will had slapped Chris, that he actually came down to the end of the stage and tried to apologize to her. And what he said was, I didn't mean you any harm. And her response was, I can't talk about this now, Chris. This is some old shit. She said, I thought it was about the Oscar 2016, their stuff. But she revealed that it had been something going on before she even came into the picture. Maybe something from the late 80s. She said, I've got to leave that to Will and Chris to talk about. But they got their stuff for sure. Something from the past contributed to, well, She didn't imply it, she actually said it. But she went a bit further in the interview, and what I thought it may have, that thought occurred to me, what she revealed at this point, and that was that every summer there would be reports and rumors that would come out about her and Will actually getting a divorce. And she says that one particular summer, Chris Rock called her and he was like, "I'd love to take you out." And she replied, "What do you mean?" And Chris said, "Well, aren't you and Will getting a divorce?" Divorce. Jada said, "No, Chris, those are just rumors." Chris was appalled, she said, and profusely apologized. And she feels that, in her personal opinion, that it made him feel some kind of way. And it may have. But I kind of knew or felt there may have been more to just that slap. But Jada says she just hopes that all the people involved can find peace. That she wasn't there to make any judgment on how people decide to express themselves and express their art. Even though Chris did hurt her feelings. And I would agree. The way he went on with the bitch and being disrespectful to Jada, it just felt like it was some more to that we didn't know. Fortunately, it seems Mrs. Smith understands that being in the spotlight comes with the territory. And her desire is that all the misunderstanding around this can be cleared up and that they can just be peaceful within each other and to each other. Speaking candidly about her and Will's relationship and how they came to be. And that I've heard it said before about how he called her on the phone and asked her who she was going out with. And her response when she said she wasn't with anyone, and Will responded that, "Well, you're going out with me now." And she said, "Will called me one day and said, hit me up when you get to LA," and just simply hung up. And she was like, "Whoa, okay." And so when she got to LA, she said she called him and she haven't been able to get rid of him since. Now, when the two got together, Jada was being treated for depression and was taking Prozac. She said she stopped taking this medicine once they began dating. And she completely abandoned her mental health, being intoxicated with their relationship and the dynamic between them, saying she felt cured and Will became her drug. But now that she's reflecting on her life, she says that it's been filled with intense highs that included the birth of her two children, Jaden and Willow, and intense lows like depression that returned when she turned 40. So she's recalling being in so much pain and thinking it could be any other way, couldn't be any other way out besides actual death. So she was contemplating suicide at one point and looking for outside sources to fill the void that she felt. So even though her life looked great to everybody else and on paper, but depression was a constant within her life. Now, eventually, Jada says she was treated with drugs that actually helped her. She reveals all of this in the upcoming primetime special. Now, the People magazine article is the most current one, and she's actually on the cover of the magazine. And it has many people often asking Jada, just be quiet. Stop talking about what apparently bothers her or what seems to cause an imbalance within her life. But I say if this strategy helps her to get her thoughts together, help her to deal with and get through whatever she is dealing with and are feeling she needs to deal with in her life, then so be it. It is her story to share or not to share, so be it. Is it her divulging too much that seems to bother people? Perhaps her revelations are meant to serve a bigger or higher purpose as well. I don't know. We really do not know. But of course, this is simply me and the rest of us making an observation. But for whatever reason, she feels a need to disclose her truth. Perhaps it, again, like I say, it's being used to motivate other things within her life and even assist her with her mental health journey. I can't say for certain, but I do wish her and Will the best. Peace and blessings. They are adults doing their own thing and what is in their own best interest at this time. Now, tell me what you think about this discussion. Do you think Jada is revealing way too much to the public? Do you think she needs to not have this book? What do you think about this topic? Let me know. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comment on this topic. Now, I will see you next time for a daily discussion with Dena. Ta-ta!
This concludes the daily discussion with Dena. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.